What's the most NSFW thing you've experienced in a professional situation? I had a manager in a call center in 1999/2000. She would sometimes have one-on-one meetings with employees in her office. During a meeting with me, she was wearing a short dress/skirt, uncrossed her legs in a way where I could see she wasn't wearing underwear, and had a landing strip. I'm pretty sure she noticed that I noticed, but I don't think she was doing it on purpose. I worked in a photo lab at a major right out of high school. This was just a couple of years before digital cameras killed film, so I still dealt with people bringing in disposables and rolls of film to develop. 95% of the stuff I saw was kids' birthday parties and vacation shots. The rest though was some NSFW stuff. One woman in her mid-40s that apparently liked to party with her friends had a thing about resting her bobs on people's head. Nice bobs BTW. Another guy dropped off a disposable camera for 1 hour development. I ran it through, and the entire roll was a woman who was drop dead gorgeous just posing naked on the bed. Well, when he returned to pick up the pictures, she was with him. That was a very awkward moment of ringing them up, and she couldn't look me in the eye. Had another guy drop off a camera who was a real class act. Naked photos of his GF/wife, a collection of guns, and him snorting coke off a family picture. One other story I have is about a couple that brought in a roll of film. I ran it through the process and most of the images were innocuous, but the final few were probably a little saucy. I say, probably because the images were so dark I couldn't make out much more than a silhouette. It was likely the wife modeling off some lingerie. I never printed the pictures though, since they were almost all black. They picked them up and returned a short time later with my manager and store director in tow, demanding I be fired for stealing those last few shots. My explanation didn't satisfy them, so I was forced to put their film back in the machine and show exactly how the shots were and why they weren't printed. After that they got real sheepish and muttered an apology before quickly leaving. That peek into people's lives dried up when digital went mainstream though. Went into work because monitoring software on a server was sending out alerts. When I got there, a guy was in the break room cleaning a woman's shoe in the sink. He was super startled when I walked in and began some weird story about the shoe smelling bad and it distracting him, so he decided to just grab it and wash it. I was like, well okay then, good corporate cities. A few weeks later, someone walked in on him masturbating with a woman's shoe. Apparently, it was normal for female employees to occasionally leave a pair of shoes at the office. This was in Chicago, and you either left shoes there or carried them with you on your commute so that you could wear boots in the slush. At his exit interview, he made a point of saying that he always washed the shoes afterward, as if that somehow made it okay. They let him resign in lieu of calling the cops on him, although I've often wondered what the charges would have been. Is this even a crime? The day he left, a memo went around explaining what had happened and authorizing full compensation for replacement of any shoes that had ever been left overnight. Edit. I forgot to mention that I had a forehead slapping moment after I heard about the guy getting caught wanking into a shoe. I realized that I should have asked myself, why was he washing just one shoe? How could he know that it was the left shoe or the right shoe that was smelly? And even then, how many people have just one stinky foot? That haunted me for years afterward. I worked at a KFC. We had a nasty ex-stripper that worked there and a horny manager. She wanted to go home early, so they agreed that she could if he got to finger pop her asshole. They did it right behind the chicken warming case. I quit about a week later. I was working for an international company and we were rolling out video conferencing equipment. We had the far end system in the London office on and connected. It was like 9 PM there for testing. The monitor was off there, but the camera wasn't. I was looking at network traffic when I heard voices. Looked up and saw an exec and his male assistant. Went about my business when my coworker walked in and said, "Hey stupid change, did you get fat? What the fuck?" Exec had dropped to his knees and started going at it on our 60 monitor. I quickly killed the connection, and I still don't know if my side was muted or not, but if it wasn't, it was probably pretty funny with some dude getting a beach and a sudden voice coming through from nowhere. When I was 19 I worked for a quick oil change place and I had a woman sit in her car and change every stitch of clothing while I stood there and wrote down her information. First startup I worked at in the 90s, just a few of us ran meetings by having the note taker use a sheet of paper placed over a Playboy. If the note taker started flipping through the magazine, the meeting wasn't interesting enough and was declared over. Worked in an office about 10 years ago on a weekend once when we were closed, but I needed to catch up on a couple of projects. I decided to jerk off at my desk young and horny. Finished and double wrapped the tissue for flushing on the way out. Not a minute later, a work colleague walked in. Thank frick, that was close I thought, and told him I'm off home and I'll see him on Monday. On my way out, after I was done in the toilet, I realized I had forgotten my phone, so walked back into the office to see him at his desk jerking off. Was fixing someone's computer, found about 35 gigs of child pronoun, called the cops and called the dude saying his computer was fixed and ready for pickup. He showed up at the store with a sheriff waiting just inside. I worked at a honey baked ham store right out of high school. Loved that job. But I remember one day during the summer when a van pulled up right by our side door in trance, and a kid around 10 years old popped out of the van, ran into our store, and beelined into the restroom. It was a weekday afternoon and things were slow, so we didn't mind that they weren't customers and were just there to use our restroom. So a few minutes later the kid runs out of the store and we don't think anything about it. A few hours later the lady that's on that shift with me is cleaning the sales floor and restrooms for the end of the day, and I'm in the back production room cleaning up and doing dishes. Suddenly I hear her screaming my name and yelling for me to hurry over to her. Lo and behold, she's at the men's restroom holding the door open with a look of utter disgust on her face. I walk up to her expecting that the kid had left a floater or something, but no. It was so much worse. There was poop everywhere. That brat had smeared his crap along almost every surface imaginable in the restroom. The mirror, the grab bars, the toilet seat, the paper towel dispenser, the walls. I spent the next 2 hours cleaning the surfaces as well as I could. Had to throw away the towels we use for cleaning the kitchen, normally get them laundered by a service, and use the disinfectant we use in the kitchen on everything I could see in that restroom. Still makes my skin crawl thinking of that day, and it's probably the reason behind my irrational hatred of all children. I used to work in a sign shop that specialized in vehicle wraps. My co-workers were always freaking around, and one of them must have lost a bet or something. I walked around a tour bus we were wrapping, and I saw him standing on the scissor lift, applying the wrap to the bus, wearing only his work belt and shoes. In my company we have live video in every conference room. If a meeting is scheduled between two rooms, then the live conference connects automatically, and the two rooms are both on live video. Anyone in the company can schedule this. Well, we were in a meeting that ended, and the next meeting connected. Turns out the people in the room for the next meeting did not know this, and were in a very NSFW activity. The whole executive team watched in shock what was happening in the 100-inch screen in front of them. They still have jobs, but that will haunt them forever. There was a guy and a girl, not in a relationship, that used to regularly go into the sick bay around lunchtime for 10-20 minutes. She was a bit loud. Everyone nearby knew when they were in session. Work in the NICU. Walked in on a mom and dad snorting mom's pain pills off the medical cart. Go figure, their child was also born addicted to methadone. Immediate reporting done. The owner of the company doing cocaine off the breasts of the PR manager. In Brazil, we have this WhatsApp joke where they put some random video with the audio of Alexis Texas moaning very loud. Once I was on a kinda serious meeting, and my boss got caught in one of those jokes. Needless to say that everyone laughed and took a 5-minute break before resuming the meeting. Some patient at the hospital comes out of his room wearing jeans with a boner protruding through the open zipper. The people he walked past on that floor were too in shock to say anything to the guy, so he strolls onto the elevator and heads down to the lobby, full mast, goes to the cafeteria, picks out some food, then security finally makes it to the guy while he is waiting in the checkout line. Think he got a psych consult after that. While I was on cash at McDonald's during a warm summer day, I had a 40-ish hot ass MILF of a customer practically flash me to see if I would give her any free. She was only wearing a bikini top and shorts, and she started pulling it to the side. I was so shocked I had no response, but her GF in guessing got her to stop. It took like 5 minutes before I could think again. I was in HS at the time. I worked at a restaurant, and one of the hostesses would talk about having anal beads and while working, and how she came when she walked around the restaurant. During my clinicals, to become a paramedic, I saw 2 nurses and a doc go into a room together. Thought nothing of it until I went into that room to get something, and they were having themselves a good old-fashioned 3-way. I wasn't sure what to do, so I did the mature thing and tried to gossip amongst the other nurses. They all already knew about it. Apparently the 3 of them actually lived together. Girlfriend's coworker walked in on the boss son jacking off in the supply closet. They lock eyes and the son just goes, "Oh shit." Coworker backed out and closed the door. Son moved away, haha. Executive at a major billion-dollar tech corporation got fired after a Vegas marketing conference. At a huge party, where CEO and major officers were in attendance as well as some celebrities, he grabbed a video camera from the marketing team. He was executive. They kind of had to give it to him, and he proceeded to go into the ladies' restroom and walk along past all the stalls with the camera above the doors pointing down. He had to have been completely lit. He was gone the next day. Not really a professional situation, but it was on the job, so. But in college I was a delivery boy for Domino's, and I had to run through a parking garage staircase to get to these apartments. I busted through the door to the stairwell and almost hit some high school kid getting a BJ. Didn't really want to be a buzzkill, so I just gave them a quick noise set and kept running lol.